Hi guys, I'm Laurie Vitale. On this episode of Laurie in the Kitchen, I want to share with you how I make my croque madame sandwich. Now, I have shared a croque monsieur before. There's not a ton of a difference, but I've had people ask for this recipe. I figured I'd share it with you because it's awesome. It's what I like to call like a fork and knife kind of a sandwich because it's not one that you really eat with your hands. It's going to have an egg on top. It's phenomenal and really, really easy to make. Let me take you over the ingredients so we can get started. You're going to need some bread. You can use any bread of your choice. Just get a nice thick one. Swiss cheese, some deli ham, Parmesan cheese. You'll need some whole milk, eggs, melted butter, a little bit of flour, Dijon mustard. You're going to need a little more butter. You're going to need some nutmeg and some salt and pepper and a little bit of oil to fry the egg. Now I've got my oven preheated to 400 and that's going to be for toasting up the bread. But before we get the bread toasting, I want to get started on making the bechamel, which is really easy. It's just a basic white sauce. I've got a small saucepan. To that, I'm going to add some butter. And I'm just going to wait for this butter to completely melt. And then we'll add the flour and make the roux, which is the base, the thickening agent of the bechamel. Add my flour. It's important that you cook the flour in the butter for like a minute or two. That cooks away any of that raw flour taste that could give your white sauce almost like a paste aftertaste. So you just want to cook that for like literally a minute, not long, just until you can no longer see any powder, any of the flour that's not incorporated. See, it's bubbling away nicely, it's smooth, it is good to go. I'm going to add my milk, and I am just going to cook this, let this simmer for about 4 to 5 minutes or until it thickens. Doesn't take very long at all, especially when you're making a very small batch. It doesn't take very long, so keep an eye on it and just cook it until it becomes thick enough to coat the back of your wooden spoon. That looks fantastic. I'm going to turn that off. I am going to season this with just a little bit of nutmeg, and if you use fresh nutmeg and you grate it in yourself, it gives you a completely different flavor, but a little goes a long way and you never taste it, but it makes that white sauce really just kind of makes it what it is. It's an ingredient that's very standard. And then of course some Parmigiano Reggiano, good quality, por favor. That's I should say, per favore. It makes the biggest difference in the world. Always freshly grated. That's what I prefer. And my mother would use white pepper. I use black pepper. It doesn't matter to me. It does exactly the same thing. Just season it with salt and pepper to taste. Give that a stir. And now you can just let that sit. Those lumps, by the way, are not flour. That's just the Parmigiano Reggiano. And it will just get blended in as it kind of sits and cools a little bit. Okay, I'm going to clean up a little bit. Grab a baking sheet because we are going to need to toast up the bread. I am just going to take some melted butter and I am going to brush both sides of this sandwich, of the bread to make our sandwich. This is perfect, by the way, if you want to serve this with some fruit salad on the side or like a simple mixed green salad. It would be the most wonderful brunch, and it also kind of looks like you went the extra mile to do something really special when you and I both know it took absolutely no time at all. Also, I know, and I have done it before, not traditional, but it works. If you want to skip making the bechamel, just use a little bit of mayo. I know it's looked down upon because it's not the traditional way, but you know what? It does a job. You don't need very much of it, although I do think that making the bechamel does make things a little better. It tastes more luxurious. It's got a little bit of a deeper flavor and better texture as well. But I'm just saying, if you don't want to make it, you don't have to. I'm going to pop this into the oven to let this toast. You're most likely going to need to flip the pieces of toast halfway through, but for the most part, they'll be in there for about 6 to 8 minutes. And like I said, flip them halfway through to make sure they're getting browned evenly. My bread is fully toasted. Now at this point, turn the broiler on your broiler to high. If there's two settings, a low or a high, you want the high. Now this is the part when you're making this at home, you kind of need to do things simultaneously because you want your sandwich and your bread kind of done at the same time, but for the purpose of showing you every step of the way, I'm gonna build my sandwich, pop it under the broiler, and then we'll go in and make our eggs. So there's no confusion. Now I've got my bread that's perfectly toasted. I'm going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard to one side of each piece of toast. And I'm just going to smear this really well. And this kind of gives you that tangy, little bit of that vinegary taste, undertaste to your sandwich. It looks like there's way more than one side than the other, so we'll just steal, okay? Don't call the cops on me, because I just stole a little bit of mustard from one side to the other, okay? Just trying to play fair. And then you build your sandwich. Now, I like to start with the glue, which is the cheese, a slice of Swiss on each side, some deli ham. You can use any kind that you like. I like to use just a few slices on each one, 2 to 3 depending on the size. Like I said, this is not going to be the kind of sandwich you kind of just pick up and go. This is going to be the kind of sandwich you really just sit down to eat, which I love that. You know, sometimes you need that in life. I'm going to go with an extra slice of ham on each piece because I have it and because I feel like it needs it. Okay. Another piece of cheese, put your lid on. Then you take some of the bechamel, nice bit of each one, like so, and it's going to spill over, but it's fine, like that. Make it nice and even, and then you're going to take another piece of cheese, and you're going to put that over top of the bechamel, like that. I know it sounds crazy, but it works, and it's what makes this incredibly good. I'm going to pop this under the broiler. Now make sure you do not put this, you know, if you're putting your rack at the very highest part of the oven, right underneath the broiler, it's going to burn pretty much instantly. So take it about, you want it about 2/3 of the way up from the bottom of the oven. That way you can ensure that it melts beautifully, it gets bubbly and golden brown, but it's not going to burn right away. So I'm going to pop this in there, allow it to bubble up and brown, and then we'll go going on making our eggs. I'm going to fry up my eggs really quickly. My sandwiches came out of the oven. I just want the cheese to sort of melt and to bubble. So that's done. I've got a skillet preheating over about medium-high heat. I got a little bit of vegetable oil in there. You could put butter, you could put olive oil, you could use whatever you want. My timer's telling me it's done. I'm going to crack each egg into my little container here. Add them to my skillet. And now you can cook these for as long as your heart desires. If you want your eggs really underdone, cook them for just a couple of minutes. If you want them cooked a little bit longer, cook them a little bit longer. Keep an eye on them, cook them for as long as you want to, and I'm going to be back here to put the sandwich together. These look perfect. I can tell that the yolk is still runny, but the bottom is nice and crispy. Now you can cook the yolk until it's completely set. It's up to you. But it should be somewhat runny because when you cut into it, that should happen. See what's happening? Actually, probably would be better if I turn this towards you. See? That is what you're looking for. That is perfection, and I'm telling you, it is worthy of anything. This would be great for brunch, lunch, a nice casual dinner. Like I said, with a nice sized salad would be perfect, but for now, I'm just going to use this as my mid-afternoon snack. Jealous? I think you are. But I'm going to wait till this gets cool a little bit and then give it a nice bite. Hot, but that is phenomenal. It's like cheesy and salty from the ham, and the Dijon mustard is just perfectly tangy, followed by that glorious egg. Just go to LauraInTheKitchen.com. You have to make this for your next brunch get-together because it's a showstopper of a dish, but you're not really doing anything to it. It's really easy and simple to pull together, so it makes you look like even more of a rock star than you already are. Who doesn't want that? LauraInTheKitchen.com has a full written recipe for you. I'm going to dig back in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!